Well, hello, Memorial Drive. This is Jason and Daryl Johnson, and we are here to update on the facility. And the way we are doing this is kind of like how we do a lot of our post-sermon conversations. We've got a lot on our mind, and we want to share it as quickly as we can, and we'll just jump in. Anything you want to add, Daryl?
Yeah, I would say that just to let everyone know that we're trying to make this quick, a succinct video with an announcement that has bullet points. You can pause it at some point at different times because Jason has a like a PowerPoint set up, and you can read a lot of the text. But also, we want to let you know that we are moving and working towards specific directions here with our focus group that we've got, just elders and staff. We're putting it together. Clint made that announcement on Sunday, and we're just trying to fill you in on what this group has done up to this point and what was thrown in our lap, so to speak, real recently. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll jump to our share screen, and I'll just do it like this. So real quickly, these have been our driving goals from near the beginning. The one thing that I really want to point out is our debt. Memorial Drive has been debt free since around 2012. That's really astounding, especially when you see the next few facts that are going to come up. But I think that's just something to hold on to as you go through. That is a goal. We feel like we want to do our best to be debt free as a congregation. So the next thing I want to show you is our general giving. Before I show you this, I want to say Memorial Drive Church of Christ is one of the most generous groups of people, and I have 100 examples of that just even in recent times. So I want to be clear. Our giving to special ministries such as BFF and missions and benevolence and food pantry, anytime something pops up that we're like, hey, somebody's in need, you come through big time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit with Memorial Drive people, you need to know you're sitting with generous people. There are people that you'll sit around that give $20,000 a year at times to this place. And so it's just amazing how generous this body is. But we also know, according to Luke 14, you don't want to build a tower unless you see what your resources really are. And so we want to share with this and this perspective just what we've seen over the last 4 years. And so I'm not going to go through the numbers. You can read them yourself, but I just want you to notice the differences as that number has decreased every year. And so the outcome of that is over the last 4 years, we to general giving, and general giving pays our lights, our electricity, the cups and plates, our salaries for the ministers, most of the bulk of what general functioning does. That's what that pays for. And so we are down $237,000, 395, $395. There you go. Annually over the last 4 years. That's an average loss of $80,000. That includes 2020. And with the way 2021 shaping up, it seems like it's hard to tell if we've stabilized. So we're just watching that. Now, what you need to understand is God has taken care of us every step of the way. To lose that amount of money and to not be in any debt, and to not have to cut budgets dramatically in terms of the general giving. I mean, that's been pretty amazing. Now, having said that, and Daryl, you may want to speak to this. God has really blessed us that our ministries have been able to go on, and yet we've lost this much money. And I'm just curious, yeah, how would you see that?
Yeah, it's one of those things to where you look at it. I remember doing the Dave Ramsey thing. My wife and I would look at it and we say, well, we're not doing too bad. We're doing all right. But then all of a sudden, when you have it in front of you, when you have the numbers or the spreadsheet or however your brain works, you look at ways where you're like, oh, I kind of lost track of that. I wasn't paying attention to that. And so like Jason, like you said, this is not hey, this is a guilt thing. This is a slide that should make you feel bad. But it might be a slide that makes you go, oh, I need to do something here. I can change something within myself or within our family. I need to reevaluate my giving, that kind of thing. So it might be a call to you for that, but it is certainly not a call to say, hey, you should feel guilty about this. But certainly we want to be open and honest and just point blank show you the numbers. And so, yeah, if it does stir within you a refocus on giving, great. But truly, God has taken care of us in this time, because it has been weird. I mean, the last year and a half, certainly has outside factors jumping into all of these numbers for certain.
That's right. Absolutely. So this is helpful when you consider looking at building upkeep. One of the things that I was not aware of at all was the difference in building upkeep versus different square footage, you know.
Mhm.
And so we were looking at a building seriously back in the fall called Sanctuary. Sanctuary, we're not talking salaries, we're not talking anything, just the building upkeep, keeping the place running, the air conditioning and all the maintenance would need to be done is $138,000. And so by comparison, that's 65,000 square feet at Sanctuary. And East Side would cost, with about, I think they're at 37,000 square feet, is $76,000. We've looked at another smaller congregations, 59. And if we rebuild at 747 at 35,000 square feet, which is significantly smaller than our previous footprint, that would be 52,000. So we've had to really factor that in considering our future tower, if you will.
Right.
Coming out of Luke 14, we're not building any towers, let's be clear. But that idea of upkeep is an important thing. So thinking about our congregational size and the upkeep cost, around a 35,000 square foot building is something that we feel like God has signaled us we can keep up with that. And so debt wouldn't become a factor for us.
Yeah, and this is a great example of when Ron Magnuson says, "Hey, we want to make sure we do our due diligence," and this is part of that. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So then the question comes up about new construction, and I meant to bullet this out, but here we are. I Back in July, at the commonly accepted estimate would be $200 a square foot, and we're looking at a 36, 35, 30,000, 36,000 square foot plan. And so in July, the building would have cost us a new construction would have cost us $7.2 million. By November, that was up to 8.1, and presently it's at 9.7. As an example, and this is because of COVID and steel mills and a lot of different things that I have about this much knowledge of, but I would say that this is not projected to go down for a while. They're saying it probably, even if things go very well and we have a full recovery, it would be June, July before those costs would really start to go down in any significant way. And we think it's a blessing. Had we been all in on construction, and these numbers start going up, it would have really forced us into some tough decisions. And man, I feel so good about that.
yeah, I think he's been taking care of us. God has been taking care of us in regards to timing for certain. And then another thing that just hit me, Jason, is we talked many times about having people in the right positions and places and professions. And Larry Cheatham comes to mind in this particular slide with his fingers on the pulse, and just different people within our body that readily have this information and are aware of it on a regular basis. I wouldn't be aware of this unless I had to, was tasked with go find out. They just seem to know or are in the right places. So that's another way that he has blessed us greatly. Um,
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Just so everyone would know, man, I feel the pressure. I feel the pressure. I have to fight the devil's attack on just get it done, just buy something. There's a grocery store, just buy that. You can. It's only 5,000 square feet. Just meet there. So I have felt that pressure, and so to be able to submit that to God, because we don't want to give into fear and not make a decision, but we also don't want to give into fear and make a wrong decision. So really trying to follow God's cloud in this has been challenging to me emotionally. But when I look back, I'm like, man, God's timing has been really beautiful.
yeah, I'm definitely in that bucket of I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. And
Yeah,
then now what? That I have to fight that as well. So
absolutely. So here are the options that we were thinking of last week. We were supposed
yep,
to record this video on Tuesday,
yep.
and we kept having meetings come up, and weird things happen. And so this is what we're looking at about Eastside. I will mention the thought is we'd have to tear down the main building at Eastside because there's too many structural problems, too many code problems, too many violations. We couldn't just renovate that space. We'd have to tear the main building down and keep the activity center, big box stores. Like we couldn't use Office Depot because it's not tall enough. We need a warehouse store like a Hobby Lobby. So watching for those has been a challenge. Foundations Church was a place, nice auditorium, a few small classrooms, but we need to build out. And so there's challenge. Matter of fact, this last week, Dan Langdon, just on his own, who's helped us a lot as a realtor, he went over to an office building next door to the Foundations Church and said, "Hey, would you ever think about selling?" And she's like, "I've not told anybody this, but I am thinking about selling." As of Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there, we would have said these are our options. And then something weird happened.
Yes, it did. And it's weird how literally it that is the best slide. And then something happened. So I guess God does work in weird ways. What is it? A water line broke, and so it interrupted a scheduled walkthrough of a location.
Mhm.
And that in turn allowed us to, oh, well, we can go check this other location out that is not listed.
Right. Well, part of
And
it, it's funny, they have the building listed in two parts. One is listed, but the church building part is not.
right.
So it fall into this weird place.
And so, yeah, a part of our group and some wives of some of our focus group show up and look at this place, and there are parts of it that really look promising. We walked away excited about this particular location. At the time of this recording, which it's Friday morning, we are set to go. The rest of our staff, as many and staff and elders can go see it tomorrow, Saturday at 1 p.m. so we can all get a look at it and walk through it, weather permitting. But yeah, this is an interesting place. It has two things that, and I haven't seen it yet. It has two things. I was listening to our group that had seen it describe it. And what I saw out of everyone's description and heard them say was there's a lot of potential and there are a lot of options. The options being, hey, if we rebuild or if we remodel or if we do whatever on this land, on this location with what it already has, here are several things that are open to us. And really, we talked some last night, and we get to do this. If we move into this place, we wouldn't have to, we would get to in some areas. And then also it checks off many of our boxes. There are a couple that we look at and go, well, is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? And it's, I think it's one of the ones where it's the first one we've kind of all walked away from looking at going, okay, that one feels different. It looks different. It sounds different. Let's start digging into this one. And so we are going to dig into this one. So options and potential are the two things in my mind as I am ready to see this on Saturday.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is well said. I did get to see it, and I'll tell you, if you've ever been house hunting and you're like me, you don't know what you want until you get there. Like you have these vague
Right.
notions. And there was stuff I was like, hey, I never even thought about doing it that way, but I can see it. And so it falls into our square footage usage. It falls into price range. It falls into just a lot of things that we have set as needed and where we see our church at and where we see our church going. Now,
Yeah.
here's what's interesting to me. Did you have something right there?
Well, I was going to say, are we just going to say the location, say the name, put the address?
No, we can't, or everyone will be there tomorrow.
Okay.
But hopefully soon. Now, I do want to say this. One of the reasons why I don't think everybody should come out is because it is heartbreaking when you see a building. Believe me, I've had this experience over these last 9 months. You see a building, you envision it, you think it through, you see the problems, but you're like, maybe, and then God sends you a signal that that's not right.
Right.
Oh, matter of fact, even sharing this, all the listeners need to know, man, it causes me to be on edge a little bit, because here's the truth. I don't know how it felt to walk in the wilderness, literally following God's cloud. But I don't know that they realized they were going to be out there till they're 40 or for 40 full years.
Yeah.
I wonder if at year 22 they're like, okay, now we're moving in that direction, and it all looked good, and then the clouds suddenly veered the wrong way, from their perspective. And so we don't know if this is the end of the 40 years. or we're halfway through. But I believe that and we believe, and the elders certainly believe in sharing what we know to the best of our ability. And so we want to include you in the space. This is the best we collectively have felt about a space to this point, and
Yep.
we think it's a strong signal, but that's all we know.
Yeah, and the other thing, the last thing I think we ought to leave you guys with is be praying about it. Be when you see this video, just pause it, stop it, or when it ends, just immediately just say, "Hey, God, if this is where you want us to be, if this is where you want us to land, continue to provide, and thank you in advance for your answer, whether it be yes or no." Because I imagine, like, Jason, you're saying 22 years. I bet those people started wondering, oh, that's a sign. They were seeing a sign in everything. Yep, we're still here, or nope, we're not, or whatever, And I think that there's a little bit of that with us. It's been it's been a long time as far as our perspective goes that we have not had a building. We have not had our own place. And so it's like, okay, do we want to remember that and rush, or do we want to remember that and recognize this is of him and this is his moving? And if God, thank you for the water line break that caused us to come across this. And the other thing I would say is thank you for your prayers on this. It is a task, and we do not want to slight it. And we want to be thinking, 10, 20, 50 years from now, who is at this location? Who is Memorial in 50 years? So we don't want to just be thinking of, short term, what we see in the moment. We're trying to broaden that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one question that I keep thinking is, if I've never been to church, or if I've been hurt by a church, what am I looking for? And how do I make my assessments? You know how it is when you go to, I don't know, a new restaurant, a new whatever, you're immediately sizing up the place from the parking lot all the way in. And so what's the best? And to some degree, that's not completely knowable. But I think if we're asking God those questions, he will provide for us in ways we couldn't imagine.
Yep. Well, I think we did the announcement, but we did not make it succinct.
Well, your definition of succinct and mine is different. So I would say,
is true.
I had to pause 3 times. Good on you. Keep watching till the end. All right. Love you all.
All right.
See you, Daryl.